Layman, Ann Conway, Ken Bell, and John Ghiorse. Live from downtown Providence, this is WLNE News.
Good evening, everybody. Retaliation for U.S. airstrikes on Libya earlier this week has now claimed the life of an American.
An American hostage in Lebanon is now said to be the latest victim of Libyan terrorist revenge. What was first thought to be the body of a British journalist is now identified as 62-year-old Peter Kilburn. His body, along with the bodies of two British victims, were at a Beirut morgue today. All three had been shot in the head at close range. The State Department believes Libya ordered the killings as retribution for the U.S. raids. And now the fears are mounting among the families of the 5 Americans still missing in Lebanon. Diplomat William Buckley is believed to have been murdered months ago. The 4 others are said still to be in the hands of a pro-Iranian group apparently behind Libya's crusade against the United States.
And today, chants condemning American action echoed throughout the streets of Libya as thousands gathered to bury 20 victims killed in Tripoli and Benghazi by the U.S. bombs. As the coffins draped in green flags were carried to their graves, emotions ran very high. A sermon was drowned out by anti-American shouting. Only a call to prayer silenced the crowd, and only for a few moments. Some, however, simply showed their deep-felt grief at the loss of their loved ones.
A $1 million a month cocaine ring was cracked today in Providence, but all but 2 of the 28 people arrested were back on the street within hours after being arrested. Stiff competition between bail companies may be to blame. 25-year-old Louis Pimentel was arraigned at 1 o'clock this afternoon on charges of cocaine distribution. Police say they found 15 pounds of cocaine and $16,000 in cash in Pimentel's East Providence house. Pimentel was out on $300 bail 1 hour later, and Pimentel didn't even pay for his bail. 2 competing bondsmen bailed out some of the suspects for free because they wanted to keep their business intact. State police SWAT teams fanned out around Providence Superior Court today with automatic weapons. That in preparation for the murder trial of mobster Frank Bobo Marapizzi. The trial focuses on the 1975 murder of Richard Dickey Calley. The heavy security is for hitman-turned-informant Frank Martellucci. The state says Martellucci is one of 2 eyewitnesses who saw Marapizzi shoot Calley. Court recessed before Martellucci could testify, so he'll be back on Monday. Co-defendant Charkunian is being tried separately.
The Federal Reserve Board announced today that it will be lowering its discount rate on Monday. The drop of a ½ point will bring the rate down to 6.5%. That's important because it's the lowest it has been in 8 years. It's also important because the discount rate is the amount that the government charges financial institutions for borrowing money. So Monday's drop could eventually mean lower interest rate on loans that you and I have to pay. Also declining, as you may have noticed, is the finance rate on new car loans, but there may be more to those low rates than meets the eye. General Motors started the trend by offering a 6.9% deal on some models. Well, now some Ford dealers are trying to fight back with 4.9%. But you have to be careful because if the financing involves dealer participation, well, those deals may be harder to come by. By the way, these lower rates are being offered and they're expected to last sometime through June.
The publishers are calling it Rhode Island's version of the Wall Street Journal. In 2 weeks, Providence is getting a new newspaper that covers business, politics, and the arts. And as Dan Fabrizio tells us, the publishers are targeting a well-to-do audience.
The editorial people are putting together the first issue of Rhode Island's newest newspaper. Providence Business News will be a weekly tabloid aimed at the city's affluent professional people.
We're after the top reader. The corporate executive, the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer. And we'll be bringing to business reporting a level of sophistication that a daily newspaper just can't deliver.
On special focus issues.
The publishers of Providence Business News are the same people who put out the successful Boston Business Journal. Publisher Roger Bergenheim is planning an aggressive publicity campaign that includes scattering 25 newspaper boxes around the city. But he says his newspaper will not be a clone of the Boston Weekly.
We have to be more committed to this market than just have an extension of the Boston Business Journal in this market. Rhode Island deserves a product that's not just a Boston paper.
Now, this is actually an advance copy of Providence Business News. The first copies will actually be hitting the newsstands on May 5th, and each copy costs $1. Dan Fabrizio, WLNE 6 News, Providence.
Rhode Island has 2 other business weeklies, Ocean State Business and Business Fortnightly.
And lots more to come tonight here on the news. Dozens of protesters this evening ignored police orders, and now they are facing some consequences.
And hundreds of elderly people may soon lose a valuable form of transportation. Stay with us.
35 people protesting the Rhode Island National Guard deployment to Central America were arrested and charged with trespassing tonight at the Rhode Island State House.
Once you are arrested, you will be arraigned before a justice of the peace this evening. Those of you who do not have the funds for the justice of the peace will be remanded to the ACI. Right now it is 8:30 p.m. You have until 9 p.m. to vacate this building.
But 33 of the 85 protesters remained in the rotunda of the State House protesting Governor DePreet's decision to send off 3 shifts of Air National Guardsmen to Central America. They left this morning. But 9 o'clock came and went tonight, and a caravan of state police and local police pulled up to ferry those arrested to the state police barracks in Lincoln. Each protester wore a card with the name of a Nicaraguan they believe was killed by the Contra rebels over the past year. Among those arrested, seen getting into the van, is one of the lawyers who has come recently to the defense of Chief Justice Joseph Bevilacqua. He is lawyer Stephen Fortunato. Police at Lincoln are still processing those arrested tonight. Those who don't pay the $20 processing fee will be spending the weekend at the ACI. Ann?
A murder charge will reportedly be sought against the man who caused an accident that killed an 8-month-old infant. The accident happened last night involving Juan Moragan, who reportedly was speeding to elude police. His car allegedly slammed into an auto carrying a Cranston family. 8-month-old Christopher Persetti died of injuries from that accident. His parents now remain hospitalized. Police say they will indict Moragan on murder charges when he's released from the hospital.
The man charged with the murder of a Coventry woman tonight faces charges of robbing and murdering a Fall River woman, Simone Auger. Jean Travis was charged with the murder of Auger after her body was found last week in Tiverton. Authorities in both Massachusetts and Rhode Island have been questioning their legal jurisdiction to prosecute. Bristol County District Attorney Ronald Pena claims that he has evidence that violence involved in the murder of Simone Auger began in Fall River. Therefore, Jean Travis can and should be tried in Massachusetts. New videotape pictures of the Challenger disaster added a new dimension to the mishap that took the lives of 7 American astronauts. The new pictures add little new information to the accident, but they do capture a different perspective as seen by NASA cameramen. Telephoto lenses capture pieces of the shuttle falling into the Atlantic. There are pictures of the crew cabin after it was blown from the spacecraft. It is doubtful the astronauts survived the 9-mile plunge into the Atlantic, if they even survived the initial explosion. The cabin impacted at the ocean at about 150 miles per hour.
And the prime unmanned backup for putting secret military payloads into space since the Challenger disaster exploded. This one exploded just after takeoff today. It's the second failure in 8 months of a Titan rocket at the Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. The rocket may have blown up because of O-ring failures similar to the Shuttle Challenger. No injuries were reported.
In East Berlin, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev presided over a Communist Party Congress as he played both sides of the fence. In one part of his speech, Gorbachev accused the U.S. of reverting to, quote, jungle laws for bombing Libya. In the same speech, he proposed cuts in conventional weapons. Also from the Soviet Union tonight, the triumphant return of the world-renowned pianist Vladimir Horowitz. Now, his coming concert Sunday will be the largest worldwide television audience from the Soviet Union since the Moscow Olympics. Horowitz left the Soviet Union 61 years ago. One poster announcing the concert drew overnight lines for tickets.
About 1,500 senior citizens from Greater New Bedford. The highlight of their week is the chance to get out into the community and away from the nursing home. But now an agency that operates a minibus service for the elderly is losing most of its city funding, and it's going out of business.
I feel heartbroken because that's our only means of getting out. Be lost. Yeah. We'll be lost without it.
Well, the agency, Twin Services, may seek help from the nursing homes or another city agency.
Hopefully they'll come to some conclusion.
Yeah,
it's awful considering the prosperity of our...
Yeah, that's true.
John, how about the weekend for those who are going to be out?
Still looking good. We have a view of that storm still out to the east, but it's staying away, and it looks as though the weekend's shaping up very, very nice.
Well, I'm looking forward to a terrific day tomorrow. Sounds great.
It looks as though it'll be great. Dave was asking me, he said, are you going to pass out 10s for this weekend? I said,
listen
no.
to Mr. Stingy Ghiorse here.
It's got to get well into the 70s at this time of year for 10s, so we'll just give it a 9.
Your kids must have it tough.
I am tough with those 10s, let me tell you. It'll be about as close to a 10 as you can get, I think. There'll be lots of sun all weekend long. It's still very dry. We haven't had any real measurable precipitation for the past 9 days or so, and I don't think any of that's going to occur this weekend either. Let's look at tonight's slide. This slide from Ranzamuda Fall River, and this is Westport Point, and obviously the activity down that way will be picking up on the water if it already hasn't done so over the next several days, perhaps this weekend. High today 56, a low of 42, no precipitation. As of 11 o'clock, our temperature is at 42 degrees, a low for the day. Northerly wind and the wind chill still running in the 30s at 35. Barometric pressures high and holding steady at this point. And on our local map tonight, it is clear and chilly everywhere. Temperatures generally are in the 40s. Wind still gusting to 30 miles per hour at Nantucket Island, but the wind locally and over all coastal points where it was gusting to 50 today have died down considerably, only now in the range of 10 to 15 miles per hour. Now here's the latest radar from Chatham on the Cape. There's the northern fringe of that precipitation from the offshore storm, about 100 miles to the southeast of the Cape. It's not moving very steadily in this direction. It'll probably move on to the northeast and not bother us through the remainder of the weekend. Here's that storm as we look at it from space from our satellite photograph, well to the southeast of Nantucket. It won't move very much this weekend, may drift a little bit to the northeast. We'll begin to see the clouds out there all weekend long. They should not bother the coastal plain. As we look at the national satellite picture, you can see there are some showers in the Midwest. Now, sometime on Monday, some of these showers may attempt to move through here, but I think the air will be dry enough so that these showers will tend to dry up as they move into New England. Tomorrow afternoon, those showers will be in the Chicago area, then moving slowly eastward with high pressure in full control here. Now, the marine outlook for you boaters, it's been very rough, of course, with those gusty winds today. The wind should tame down a bit tomorrow, 10 to 20 knots from the northeast, and then actually may turn onshore during the afternoon. Visibility should be good. Seas offshore rather mountainous, 8 to 15 feet, but will tend to die down as the day goes on as well. So the forecast looks like this for tonight: clear and chilly, low temperatures between 36 and 41. Then for tomorrow, lots of bright sun, dry and mild. Temperatures 60s inland, upper 50s along the coast. There it is, Dave. Ghiorse factor a 9 out of 10 for tomorrow. No, 9.3 maybe. Tomorrow night, clear and chilly, low temperatures 35 to 45 degrees. And then the outlook for Sunday, lots of bright sun and very pleasant, approaching 10. A 70 inland, 60 along the coast, and perhaps partly sunny Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And cooling off on Tuesday, could be a shower thereabouts, but no major rain still in sight.
10. A shower, you'll probably give it a -1 if this is a possible shower. Thanks, John.
Okay.
Have a nice weekend. Later in our newscast, WLNE 6 News continues its Rhode Island 350 salute with a visit to a 300-year-old farm in Johnston.
But next up in sports, a first tonight at Fenway Park. Tom may be terrific, but Bruce was better. Walt Perkins explains in a moment.
Today, who can really say who's gonna win today? 'Cause you'll never know if it's your lucky day. But there's one sure thing we just got to say: if you really wanna win, if you really wanna win, if you really wanna win, you just got to play.
All right, there is hope. They did it tonight. Go, Walt. Tell us the story.
Ribs Hub. They're even at 500 now.
You cracked me up when you said that earlier tonight. They're even, finally.
Finally at 500, and the Boston area is just going bonkers. I don't know. Bruce Hurst and Tom Seaver locked horns in a game you expect to see in October, not in April. And when it ended, the Red Sox had finally beaten Tom Terrific. Now, Bruce Hurst, who struck out 11 in Chicago just 6 days ago, equaled that effort at Fenway tonight. Here striking out the side in the first, Tollison. Nichols and then Harold Baines the victims. But in the third, Bruce will get touched up for a run. Tollison sends one deep to the wall, left center field. It'll go to the wall. Brian Little trots home, 1-0. It stayed that way until the sixth. 2 out. Buckner triples. Rice brings him home with a single to center, 1-1. Seventh inning, after a Tony Armas ground rule double, Rich Gedman slices one to left, and you can see why Pudge Fisk was behind the plate all these years. Can't catch up to a 2-1, and then in the eighth, boom.
And it is hit up the middle. Base hit. Charged by Armas. Throws to the plate. Here they come. Gedman dives. He's out.
Defensive play of the game. Hurst takes over from there, getting Fisk looking in the ninth, and then Kittle striking out. Ends it. A 3-hitter. Red Sox even their record now at 5-5. We're all worked up. Milwaukee beats the Yankees by 1. Kansas City over Toronto. Cleveland losing 6-1 to Detroit. It's Texas over Baltimore big in the ninth. And some partials. California leads Minnesota. No score in Seattle. National League, the Mets hosting Philadelphia. Top of the first, Mike Schmidt follows a Milt Thompson solo shot with one of his own. Back goes Dykstra. Won't get it. 2-0. Phil's on top. But the Mets come right back. 3 in their half of the first. Ray Knight singles to right field. 2-run score. 3-2 lead New York. Mets go on to a 5-2 win. Steve Carlton, by the way, striking out 10 tonight for Philadelphia. St. Louis, Tudor now 3-0. Pittsburgh beats Chicago. Sutcliffe is 0-3. Houston over Cincinnati. And Atlanta beats Los Angeles. Now the Celtics and Bulls resume their best-of-5 series Sunday at the Garden. The Celtics looking to take a 2-0 lead and their 32nd straight at home. Tonight in the NBA, it was New Jersey at Milwaukee. Buck Williams with the steal. He will take it in, get fouled. New Jersey up 5 early in the second half. And Darwin Cook slices through the lane, but Milwaukee would come back. They tighten up the defense. Paul Pressey's 3-point bomb puts the Bucks up to stay, 86-84. Alton Lister pads the Milwaukee lead, and they go on to take Game 1, 119-107. Also in the NBA tonight, get a load of this. Washington scores the final 18 points of the game in the final 4 minutes to beat Philadelphia by 1. Dallas beats Utah, and in the first, they're tied up in Denver. Well, those Toledo Mud Hens did in the Paw Sox tonight. Paw Sox got 4 in the 8th to tie it, but the Mud Hens came right back with 1 in their half of the 8th. The final 5-4. Paw Sox now 4-2. National Hockey League Division Finals continuing tonight. 2 games. Toronto at St. Louis, Calgary at Edmonton. And the surprises just keep coming in the playoffs. First period, after Lanny McDonald had given Calgary a 1-0 lead, Gary Suter takes the feed, scores. Flames lead the Stanley Cup champion Oilers 2-0. On the scoreboard, St. Louis also leading. They are beating Toronto. It is 6-1 in the second. And that is sports.
Okay, Walter, thank you. Coming up in just a moment, when we return, we'll have the story that really provides a refreshing breather to these days of the vanishing family farm.
The farm has been in the same family for 300 years, and it's right here in Rhode Island. As we continue our salute to Rhode Island and her 350th anniversary, we'll take you to a farm in Johnston that has been operating since the days that our nation's founding fathers were planting some of the first crops. It's the Dane Farm, and at this ripe old age, it has grown into a National Historic Site. When Rhode Islanders think of Johnston, many of them picture the heavily industrialized Route 6 area. It's true, much of Johnston is business-oriented today, but there's also a rural section of Johnston that is so beautiful and historic that it's listed in the National Registry of Historic Places. Dane Farm is one of the few working farms in Rhode Island. Built in the 1760s, it has been run throughout the centuries by different generations of the Dane family. In fact, even today, 3 generations of Danes work the farm. Delicious sweet corn is grown in this vast land, and calves are raised until they're full-grown cows, so they can be sold to dairy farms for milking. Perhaps one of the most unique areas of the farm is the family cemetery. In the 1700s, it was assumed that family members would be buried on the very land that meant so much to them during their lives. The farm is open to the public, and visitors are reminded of earlier times when farmers were the majority and living off the land a necessity.
And nice, pretty pictures out there in Johnston.
Yeah, it's a beautiful farm. I've been there before.
That's right. The weather this weekend will really enhance that beauty, and it looks as though it will be that way everywhere. Lots of bright sun tomorrow. Middletown, Rhode Island, 59, 68 in Woonsocket. Walt?
The NCAA has told URI's Brian Mitchell he is no longer eligible to play basketball, so he's trying out for the football team as a tight end. Yeah.
No way you can avoid not having a terrific weekend. It sounds great, John. So everybody have a good one.
It's really a 10, not just a 9. Have a good weekend.
Good night.